Good evening, my cherished friends. Tonight I want to share with you a revelation about a word so common, so seemingly innocent, that you probably spoke it dozens of times today without realizing you were casting spells of limitation upon yourself. That word, my friends, is want. And tonight I'm going to show you why wanting is like being a beggar standing outside the palace of abundance, when you are actually the rightful king who has simply forgotten his crown. The revelation that changed my understanding forever came through observing a woman who had been attending my lectures for 3 years. After one evening session, she approached me like a ship lost at sea, tears streaming down her face. She said, "Neville, I have been faithfully practicing everything you teach. I want love so desperately. It aches in my bones. I want financial security with every fiber of my being. I want good health more than I want my next breath. I visualize, I affirm, I assume, but nothing changes. Why won't the universe give me what I want?" As she spoke those words, I want, I suddenly understood her struggle. She was like a radio broadcaster transmitting on the frequency of absence while hoping to receive signals of presence. I said to her, "My dear woman, you have just revealed exactly why your desires remain as distant as stars. In the very act of wanting, you are placing yourself outside the gates of fulfillment, declaring yourself separate from what you seek." She looked at me as though I had spoken in riddles. "But Neville," she protested, "how can I desire something without wanting it? Isn't wanting as natural as breathing when you don't have what you desire?" I smiled gently and replied, "Wanting is like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. No matter how much you pour in, it can never be full because wanting itself is the hole. Having, on the other hand, is like owning a well of fresh water. You don't want water because you are water. You don't seek abundance because you are abundance itself. Wanting, you see, is desire that has been infected with the virus of lack. Pure desire is like a flower naturally turning toward the sun. It simply moves toward greater expression without any sense of deficiency. But when desire becomes contaminated with wanting, it transforms from a magnet that attracts into a wall that repels. Consider this carefully. When you say, "I want," what spell are you casting? You are declaring to the universe that something exists out there that you do not currently possess. You are affirming that you are here and your good is there, and there is a great chasm between them. You are the actor playing the role of the person who lacks what they seek. But consciousness is like a perfect mirror. It can only reflect back to you the image you hold of yourself. When you hold the image of yourself as someone who wants, consciousness faithfully reflects back experiences that confirm your wanting. When you hold the image of yourself as someone who has, consciousness must reflect back experiences that confirm your having. This is why Jesus taught, "Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." Notice the precision of his words. Not believe that you will receive it someday if you want it badly enough, but believe that you have received it. He was teaching the consciousness of having versus the consciousness of wanting. Let me tell you about a businessman who discovered this truth, like a man discovering he had been carrying a treasure map upside down his entire life. He came to me consumed with financial anxiety, his face etched with worry lines like a map of his struggles. "Neville," he said, "I want money so desperately I can taste it. I think about it from morning until night. I want financial freedom like a drowning man wants air. But the more I want these things, the more they slip through my fingers like water." I said to him, "You have become addicted to the drug of wanting money, which creates a perpetual state of not having money. The universe is like a cosmic pharmacy. It cannot give you medicine for having money while you are taking daily doses of wanting money, because wanting and having are antidotes to each other." "But how can I stop wanting money when I clearly need it?" he asked, like a fish asking how to stop wanting water. "By understanding that you are not a poor man who wants to become rich," I replied. "You are richness itself temporarily wearing the costume of poverty. You don't need to become abundant. You need to remove the mask of lack that is hiding your natural abundance." I taught this man to stop drinking from the poisoned well of wanting and start drinking from the pure spring of having. Instead of affirming I want financial abundance like a beggar rattling his empty cup, he learned to feel I have financial abundance like a king surveying his treasury. Instead of visualizing money coming to him like a man staring at an empty horizon, he learned to experience money as already his, like a man counting coins in his pocket. The transformation was like watching winter melt into spring. Within months, opportunities began flowing to him like rivers converging into a great lake. His external world rearranged itself to match his internal shift from the poverty of wanting to the wealth of having. But let me address the question that is surely arising in your mind like smoke from a fire. If I stop wanting things, won't I lose the very fuel that drives me forward? Won't I become like a ship without wind in its sails? This reveals the great misunderstanding about motivation. Wanting does not motivate, it agitates. Wanting does not inspire action. It inspires desperation. You are comparing the frantic flailing of a drowning man to the powerful strokes of an Olympic swimmer. When you want something, you act like a starving person grabbing for food, desperate, grasping, repulsive to others. When you have something in consciousness, you act like a well-fed person offering food to others, generous, attractive, magnetic. Consider the difference between someone who wants love and someone who is love walking in human form. The person who wants love moves through the world like an empty vessel seeking to be filled, and their very emptiness repels what they seek. The person who is love moves through the world like a fountain of fresh water, and their fullness naturally attracts others who wish to drink from their abundance. Let me share with you the story of a woman who understood this principle so deeply that she transformed her entire relationship with love itself. She had been single for years, wanting companionship like a plant, wanting sunlight, withering in the shade of her own loneliness. She said, "Neville, I want love so much it consumes me. I want a relationship more than I want success, more than I want money, more than I want anything else in this world. I've tried everything, social events like hunting expeditions, personal development like preparing for battle, but I keep attracting the wrong men or no men at all." I said to her, "You are broadcasting on the frequency of emotional starvation while hoping to attract someone who is emotionally well-fed. But well-fed people are not attracted to starving people. They are attracted to other well-fed people. You must stop wanting love and start being love." "But I am loving," she protested. "You have love to give because you want love to receive," I observed. "This is conditional love, transactional love, hungry love. True love is like the sun. It doesn't shine because it wants something in return, but because shining is its nature." I taught this woman to stop being like a beggar outside the palace of love and start being like the queen who owns the palace. Instead of affirming I want to find my soulmate, like someone searching for a lost treasure, she learned to feel I am deeply loved and cherished, like someone who had never known a day without love. Instead of visualizing meeting the right man, like someone scanning the horizon for rescue, she learned to experience the feeling of being in perfect relationship right now, like someone sitting by a warm fire with their beloved. As she practiced this transformation from wanting love to being love, everything shifted like a kaleidoscope, forming a new pattern. Her entire energy changed from that of a woman seeking to that of a woman celebrating. She stopped looking for love and started expressing love. She stopped trying to get and started giving. Within 3 months, she met a man who was also radiating love rather than wanting love. Their connection was like two rivers joining to form a mighty stream, natural, effortless, and joyful, because both were flowing from fullness rather than reaching from emptiness. This brings us to one of the most profound truths about transcending want. When you stop wanting things from others, you begin to receive everything from consciousness itself. When you stop looking to external sources to fill your apparent emptiness, you discover that fullness is your natural state. Most people are like beggars standing outside different shops, wanting approval from this person, attention from that person, love from another, validation from someone else. They have made themselves dependent on external circumstances for their internal state, which keeps them forever in the position of wanting. But when you realize that everything you want from others already exists within your own consciousness, you stop being a beggar and become a benefactor. You stop trying to get and start giving. You stop seeking and start finding within yourself. I remember a man who was like a plant withering for lack of recognition, constantly frustrated with his job because he wanted acknowledgement from his boss. He said, "Neville, I work harder than anyone else, but my boss never sees my value. I want him to appreciate my efforts, like a flower wants sunshine. I want him to recognize my contributions, like a child wants approval from a parent. I want him to give me the recognition I deserve." I said to him, "You are like a mirror, begging its reflection to smile while maintaining a frown. You want recognition because you believe you lack recognition. But recognition is not something you get from others. It's something you give to yourself, and others simply reflect back to you the recognition you already embody." I taught this man to stop being like a beggar outside the temple of appreciation and start being like the high priest within it. Instead of affirming, "I want my boss to appreciate me," like someone pleading for charity, he learned to feel, "I am deeply appreciated for my valuable contributions," like someone who had never doubted their worth. Instead of looking for external validation, he learned to validate himself completely. As he shifted from wanting recognition to being recognized already, something beautiful occurred. His boss began naturally acknowledging his work, not because the boss had changed, but because this man was no longer the same person who needed external validation. He had learned to generate internally what he had been wanting externally. This is the great secret. Everything you want from the external world already exists within your own consciousness. When you learn to be internally what you've been wanting externally, you stop wanting and start having. And when you start having in consciousness, the external world naturally reflects that having back to you. But perhaps the most challenging aspect of transcending want is learning to desire without wanting. The secret lies in understanding that pure desire is like a river flowing toward the ocean, natural, powerful, and unstoppable. Corrupted wanting is like a whirlpool. It creates a lot of motion, but goes nowhere, trapping everything that enters its spin. Pure desire flows from fullness and says, "Wouldn't it be wonderful to experience this expansion of what I already am?" Corrupted wanting flows from emptiness and says, "I need this thing to complete my broken self." When you desire from fullness rather than emptiness, you maintain the creative power of desire without the destructive energy of wanting. You can be passionate about your dreams like an artist, passionate about creating, rather than desperate for them like a beggar, desperate for coins. Let me tell you about an artist who mastered this delicate balance. She came to me feeling blocked creatively and financially, like a spring that had been dammed up. "Neville," she said, "I want so desperately to be a successful artist that it's strangling my creativity. I want galleries to show my work like a performer wants applause. I want collectors to buy my paintings like a merchant wants customers. I want recognition in the art world like an actor wants fame. But the more I want these things, the less able I am to create anything worth wanting." I said to her, "Your wanting is like putting a tourniquet around the very artery that feeds your creativity. You are trying to create art to get something rather than creating art to express something. When you want success from your art, you poison the pure creative impulse with the toxin of neediness." I taught this woman to shift from wanting artistic success to being a successful artist in consciousness. Instead of creating art to get recognition, she learned to create art from the consciousness of already being recognized. Instead of painting to achieve success like a climber struggling toward a summit, she learned to paint from the feeling of success, like someone who had already reached the peak and was enjoying the view. As she made this shift, her creativity exploded. Her art became more authentic, more powerful, more compelling, because it was flowing from fullness rather than reaching from emptiness. And as her consciousness of being a successful artist solidified, external success followed like night following day. But the most remarkable transformation was that she no longer needed external success to feel fulfilled as an artist. She had learned to generate the feeling of artistic fulfillment from within. And external success became like cream rising to the top, a natural overflow of her inner state, rather than a desperate goal to achieve. This is the ultimate freedom that comes from transcending want. You become like a well rather than a bucket, generating from within what you had been seeking from without. You discover that everything you've been wanting from the world already exists within the infinite treasury of your own consciousness. When you truly understand that consciousness is the source of all experience, you realize that wanting anything from outside consciousness is like being thirsty while standing in an ocean. The fulfillment you seek is not somewhere else waiting to be found. It's right here, right now, within the boundless depths of your own being. But let me address one final concern that may be rising in your mind. If I stop wanting things, won't I lose my dreams? Won't I settle for less than I could experience? The opposite is true. Wanting actually imprisons your dreams in cages of limitation, because it keeps you focused on what you don't have, rather than what's possible. When you transcend wanting, you open to receiving beyond what your small mind ever thought to want. Wanting operates from the limited perspective that thinks it knows what it needs. Having operates from the unlimited perspective that knows it deserves everything. When you stop wanting specific things and start being open to infinite good, you often receive something far greater than what you originally wanted. I knew a woman who was like a person digging for water with a teaspoon while standing on an underground river. She desperately wanted to marry a specific man, visualizing it, affirming it, wanting it with every breath for years. But the more she wanted him specifically, the more he seemed to resist her, like a bar of soap slipping from grasping hands. When she finally released her iron grip on wanting him and shifted to the consciousness of being loved deeply by the perfect partner for her, everything changed. She stopped chasing this particular man like a hunter pursuing prey, and started being the kind of woman who naturally attracts deep love, like a flower naturally attracting bees. 6 months later, she met and married a man who was far more compatible, loving and wonderful than the man she had been desperately wanting. Her willingness to stop wanting something specific allowed her to receive something infinitely better than what her limited perspective had thought to desire. This is the magic of transcending want. You stop limiting yourself to what your small mind thinks it wants, and open yourself to what your infinite nature knows it deserves. So tonight I invite you to examine your relationship with this word that has been secretly sabotaging your dreams. Notice how often you say, I want, and feel the energy of lack that accompanies it. Observe how wanting creates tension in your body, anxiety in your mind, and separation in your heart. Then begin to practice the consciousness of having. Instead of saying I want, learn to say I have, or I am, or I give thanks for. Instead of focusing on what's missing from your life, focus on what's present in your consciousness. Instead of broadcasting the frequency of lack, begin radiating the frequency of fulfillment. Start with small things, like shifting from I want coffee to I'm enjoying my coffee, from I want to feel better to I am feeling better and better, from I want people to like me to I am naturally likable and appreciated. As you practice this shift from wanting to having, you'll feel your entire energy changing. You'll feel more peaceful, more confident, more magnetic. And as your consciousness changes, your external world will naturally begin to reflect your new inner state. Remember, the universe is like a cosmic echo. It cannot give you what you want, because wanting declares that you don't have it. But the universe must give you what you are, because consciousness can only experience itself. Stop wanting and start being. Stop seeking and start finding. Stop lacking and start having. The wanting must go, because having is your natural state. You are not beings of lack trying to acquire abundance. You are abundance itself, temporarily experiencing limitation through the illusion of wanting. Return to your natural state of having. Return to your true nature as consciousness that lacks nothing. Return to the recognition that everything you've ever wanted already exists within you, waiting not to be acquired but to be acknowledged. The wanting must go. Thank you and good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures. I will see you in the next video.